August 17th, 2010. Fort McMurray, Alberta. Amber Tuccaro was just 20 years old, a young mother with her whole life ahead of her. She flew to Edmonton with her baby and a close friend for a short getaway. A break, a little freedom. But within 24 hours, she was gone. That night, Amber hitched a ride into the city. A man pulled over, friendly, calm, harmless, or so it seemed. She got in. She never came back. When her family reported her missing, police didn't act. "She's probably out partying," they said. No urgency, no search, just time slipping away. Weeks passed. The investigation barely moved. Her name was even removed from the missing persons list. Her belongings destroyed without her family's consent. Mistake after mistake. Then a breakthrough. 2 years later, a 17-minute phone call from the night she disappeared surfaced. Amber's voice, tense, uneasy. She asks the man where he's taking her. He hesitates. His voice is cold, controlled. She realizes something is wrong.
Where are we by?
We're just heading south of Beaumont, or north of Beaumont.
We're heading north of Beaumont. Yo, where are we going? No, this is a... Are you f***ing kidding me? You better not take me anywhere I don't want to go. I want to go into the city. Jeez. Yo, we're not going in the city, are we? No, we're not. Then where are these roads going to?
50th Street.
50th Street. Are you sure?
Absolutely.
4 days after the clip was released, horseback riders found Amber's remains in a field in Leduc County, minutes from where she was last seen. Police called it coincidence. Few believed that. A known sex offender living nearby was suspected. Some said they recognized his voice, but no one was charged. Amber's case isn't just a mystery. It's part of something bigger. A pattern of missing and murdered Indigenous women in the Edmonton area. 4 bodies. One chilling question. Who killed Amber Tuccaro? Her voice still echoes through that recording. Someone out there knows the truth, and until that truth surfaces, this case will never rest. Raja Adriana McQueen was born and raised in Cleveland, Ohio, and was the youngest of 8 children. She attended John F. Kennedy High School and later attended Rosedale Bible College, where she studied music while working. Her cousin Alicia described her as tough and strong, but very sensitive, and loved the Lord. Raja had a deep love for music, and always liked to dress nice and loved fashion. She is also a mother of 2 children, Cameron and Caden, that she deeply loves. At the age of 27, she had recently divorced and lost her brother, which caused her to suffer emotionally. On June 25th, 2021, while home from college, she told her mom she was going to visit a friend. They last spoke around midnight, when Raja called her to tell her she was still with her friend. Her mother sadly didn't know this might be the last time she would ever speak to her daughter. Raja was last seen the next morning in Cleveland on a gas station video camera at East 131st and Harvard Avenue at 7:30 a.m. At that time, Raja was the passenger in her 2018 silver Nissan Sentra that was being driven by a male. A few hours later, her car was seen again, driven by the same male at 11:38 at that same location. But this time, she was no longer visible in the car. The car then showed signs of having 3 bullet holes that were not there previously. Her phone was strangely turned off at this time, and the license plates and the hubcaps were missing, and were previously there as well. Strangely, a dealer tag was noted to be placed in the back window. Her loved ones attempted to report her missing the next day, but law enforcement wouldn't immediately take the report because she was an adult. It would be a couple days later before they were allowed to make an official missing persons report, which resulted in the video footage from the gas station being discovered. About 15 search warrants have been issued, and many people interviewed. The friend she was with when she went missing has been interviewed by detectives, but his name has not been released to the public. Neither Raja nor her vehicle has ever been seen since, and the FBI has increased the reward by $25,000, on top of the already $5,000 offered by Crime Stoppers. Her large family remains devastated, seeking answers for them and her two sweet boys. But as of today, this case remains unsolved. On December 5th, 2015, 19-year-old Caitlyn Akens was preparing to leave her mother's home in Spotsylvania County, Virginia. Caitlyn was preparing to fly back to Arizona, where she planned to rejoin her fiancé, Amber, and start cosmetology school. Her mother, Lisa Sullivan, described Caitlyn as excited about her future and in good spirits. However, Caitlyn never made it to the airport, and she has been missing for over 7 years. Caitlyn was a sociable young woman who regularly kept in touch with her friends and family. She was a frequent caller, texter, and social media user. She wasn't the type to disappear suddenly or break contact, which makes her vanishing so unsettling. On December 5th, 2015, Lisa drove Caitlyn from her home near Partlow, Virginia, to her ex-husband, James Branton's house. Caitlyn's former stepdad, James, had agreed to drop her off at Reagan National Airport in Washington, D.C. Lisa and James maintained a good relationship, and Lisa described him as the only father figure Caitlyn had ever known. The trio was in good spirits that morning, and before leaving for the airport, they talked about Caitlyn's high school diploma and her excitement about cosmetology school. Before her flight, Caitlyn said goodbye to her mother, who had to leave for work. What happened next remains a mystery. At 1:52 p.m., James texted Lisa, saying he had dropped Caitlyn off at the airport. Then, at exactly 2 p.m., Lisa received a text from Caitlyn's phone that read, "I'm at the airport, battery dying so won't be able to text back for a bit." However, Caitlyn never got on that flight and never made it back to Arizona. In fact, she hasn't been seen or heard from since. James later claimed that Caitlyn had asked to be dropped off at Springfield Town Center, a mall south of Washington, D.C., so she could kill time before her flight. He said she planned to walk to the Franconia-Springfield metro station and take a train to the airport. Oddly, just before noon, Amber received a text from Caitlyn's phone saying, "Something came up. I'm not coming back today. I'll let you know when I get a new flight. I won't be able to text for a bit." Lisa initially believed Caitlyn had boarded her flight, but at 7:15 p.m., she received two concerning texts from her daughter's phone. The first read, "Staying with a friend," followed by, "Needed some time alone." Detectives believe Caitlyn never made it to the airport and likely never left Virginia. Cell phone tower records revealed that Caitlyn's phone never went further north than Stafford, Virginia, which is about 50 miles south of Washington, D.C. Surveillance footage from Springfield Mall, the metro station, and the airport revealed no signs of Caitlyn. Authorities suspect that James Branton may have lied about dropping her off at the mall. James raised further suspicion by refusing to cooperate with investigators and declining to take a polygraph test. Lisa, once trusting of James, began to suspect he might have harmed Caitlyn. Investigators searched James's home, seizing guns, electronics, and DNA samples. They also found an encrypted cell phone but were unable to access it because James refused to provide the password. Lisa has since stated that the texts supposedly sent by Caitlyn, claiming she was staying with a friend, were out of character. She believes they were not written by her daughter. A potential breakthrough occurred on December 7, 2015, when a road crew discovered Caitlyn's blue suitcase in a roadside ditch near Fredericksburg, Virginia. The suitcase was unzipped, missing a wheel and mostly empty. It contained Caitlyn's ID, wallet, cash, credit and debit cards, cell phone charger, and glasses. However, her clothes and high school diploma were missing. Investigators believe the suitcase may have been thrown from a moving car, as it showed scuff marks and other signs of rough handling. Detectives initially wondered if Caitlyn's disappearance was connected to another local case. On December 6, 2015, the body of 21-year-old Heather Ciccone was found in a car on a rural county road. Residents feared they might have a serial killer in their midst. However, in 2018, 2 men were convicted of Heather's murder, and investigators found no link between her case and Caitlyn's disappearance. Detectives Williams and Marshall have worked tirelessly on Caitlyn's case, even consulting psychics for leads. Despite their efforts, no significant breakthroughs have been made. Lisa Sullivan remains determined to find her daughter, saying, "I will always be trying to find her, no matter what it takes." She hopes Caitlyn is still alive, but acknowledges that she may not be. Reflecting on the last time she saw her daughter, Lisa said, "I didn't know that was the last day I would see her. I should have said more to her, but I didn't know." Lisa has come to blame James for Caitlyn's disappearance, stating that he has done nothing to help find her and has not attended any vigils or searches. At the time of her disappearance, Caitlyn was 19 years old, 5 feet 4 inches tall, with blue eyes and blonde hair. She weighed about 120 pounds. She had several piercings, including gauged earrings, a navel piercing, a nose piercing, and lip piercings. She also had tattoos of 5 butterflies on her arm and 3 stars on her right foot. Caitlyn was last seen wearing a dark grey fleece with a Bass Pro Shop logo, black pants, and black and pink shoes. If you have any information about Caitlyn's disappearance, please contact the Spotsylvania County Sheriff's Office at 540-582-7115 or leave a tip with Spotsylvania Crime Solvers at 1-800-928-5822. You can also reach out to your local FBI office. In 2019, a young woman from New Zealand vanished without a trace. Jessica Boyce, just 27 years old, had been struggling, dealing with depression, memory problems, and anxiety, issues that all began after a serious car accident 2 years earlier. Despite seeking help, she was turned away, not once, but twice. On March 19th, Jessica's mother, Kay Johnstone, returned home from a hospital appointment only to realize something was wrong. Jessica was missing. This wasn't unusual. She had left without notice before, but this time, the family's red utility vehicle was also gone. Concerned, Kay reported the vehicle as stolen, hoping that if police found it, they'd also find Jessica. 3 days later, 2 hikers stumbled upon the red vehicle, abandoned near Lake Chalice, deep in the Mount Richmond forest. They called Kay, who immediately contacted the police. Jessica was officially reported as missing. For 3 days, search and rescue teams combed the area, but there was no sign of Jessica, no footprints, no clues, nothing. The investigation slowed. Weeks passed. Then, on May 10th, Jessica's family made a chilling claim. They believed she had been abducted by people they described as not her friends. But it wasn't until October 22nd, 7 months after she disappeared, that police made an even more disturbing announcement. Jessica's case was now being treated as a homicide. 2 properties were searched, forensic samples were collected, but no arrests were made. Then, in February 2021, another twist. Police suspected that the abandoned car had been planted, deliberately placed in the forest to mislead investigators. Her family is still waiting for answers. 2 suspects and several witnesses have been questioned, but to this day, Jessica's disappearance remains a mystery. Was she taken? Did she meet with foul play? Or is there something even more sinister at play? What do you think happened to Jessica Boyce? Let me know in the comments. In 2013, 23-year-old Kimberly Abercrombie was living in Brooksville, Kentucky with her young son. Her husband, who was serving in the military, had been deployed to Afghanistan at the time, leaving Kimberly to care for their child on her own. However, her life was far from stable, as she had long struggled with addiction. The events leading to Kimberly's disappearance began on June 13th, 2013. That day, she left home, telling her son that she would be back later. However, she never returned. It is suspected that she may have traveled to Cincinnati, Ohio, but this has never been confirmed. As the hours passed with no sign of Kimberly, her young son grew worried. Eventually, he reached out to his grandmother, asking if anyone had heard from his mother. When the family realized that no one had been in contact with her, panic set in. They feared something terrible had happened and immediately reported her missing to the Kentucky State Police. Kimberly had a history of disappearing before, but in the past, she would usually reach out to a family member after about a week. This time, however, no calls came. As days turned into weeks, hope of hearing from her again began to fade. During the search for Kimberly, authorities discovered her car abandoned in Johnsville, near the Kentucky 9AA highway, at a park and pool location. Inside the vehicle, they found her wallet, driver's license, and several pieces of clothing. But her car keys were missing. The discovery only deepened the mystery. If Kimberly had left the car voluntarily, why would she leave behind such important belongings? And if someone else was involved, where had they taken her? Investigators also examined her social media activity for possible clues. The last post she made on Facebook was on June 5th, 2013, just days before she vanished. In it, she expressed excitement about a litter of puppies that was about to be born. However, it remains unclear whether she owned a dog herself, or if she was simply talking about someone else's pet. As time passed, Kimberly's family became increasingly anxious. One of the most troubling aspects of her disappearance was that she had always remained in close contact with her son. No matter what challenges she faced in her life, she never abandoned him. The fact that she had not reached out only strengthened their fear that something terrible had happened to her. Unfortunately, the investigation eventually went cold. No new leads have surfaced, and no witnesses have come forward with useful information. Despite this, Kimberly's family remains convinced that someone out there knows what happened to her. They have repeatedly pleaded with the public for any information that could bring them closer to finding her, but so far, their appeals have gone unanswered. Kimberly's sister, Michelle Moore, has spoken about the emotional toll her disappearance has taken on the family. She admitted that she and Kimberly were not on the best of terms at the time, and for years, she blamed herself for not reaching out sooner. Over time, she's come to accept that whatever happened to Kimberly was beyond her control, but that has not made the loss any easier to bear. Investigators share the family's concerns and have openly stated that they suspect foul play was involved. However, without more evidence or witnesses willing to come forward, they have been unable to identify a suspect or determine exactly what happened. Kimberly's loved ones refuse to give up hope. They continue to search for answers, desperate for any piece of information that might bring them closure. If you, or anyone you know, has any details about Kimberly's whereabouts, or what happened in the days leading up to her disappearance, please contact the Kentucky State Police at 859-42-81212. Kimberly is also listed in the National Missing and Unidentified Persons System, name use, under case number MP-20765. Even the smallest detail could help bring her family the answers they have been waiting for. The disappearance of 36-year-old Eric Wells remains a troubling mystery. On the morning of February 16, 2023, Eric left a hotel in Fife, Washington, got into his car, and drove away. That was the last time anyone saw or heard from him. Since then, he has been completely missing, leaving his family and friends desperate for answers. Eric was originally from Tacoma, Washington, but had recently moved to the greater Yelm area before he vanished. He had settled in well, and there was nothing to suggest that he planned to leave or disappear on his own. On the day he went missing, he was driving a white Mercedes-Benz CLS 650, and investigators confirmed that he had planned to meet someone in McKenna that morning. However, While on his way there, he suffered a flat tire, and shortly after that, he went silent. His family quickly grew concerned when they could no longer reach him. His cell phone was turned off later that same day, and it was later found abandoned in McKenna. However, there was no trace of Eric anywhere near where the phone was discovered. Investigators checked his social media accounts, but there had been no activity since the day he disappeared, which raised even more red flags. Authorities strongly suspect that something may have happened to Eric after his car broke down, but with no physical evidence, they can only speculate. His friends told police that he had planned to return later that day to replace the flat tire, but he never showed up. This has led to theories that someone may have approached him, possibly offering help, but may have had other intentions. While this remains just a theory, it is one of the strongest leads in his case. Eric was known to occasionally use aliases, including Earl DS, Jonathan Granger, or simply E. Despite thorough efforts, his car has never been found, and without it, investigators have very few clues about what happened to him after he left Fife. As time passed, the case grew colder, but Eric's loved ones have never stopped searching. A $10,000 reward was offered to anyone who could provide information leading to answers. But so far, no solid leads have emerged. Investigators have interviewed more than 40 people, yet no one seems to know what became of him or where he might be. Desperate for answers, his family has taken extraordinary steps to find him. They have searched homeless camps, contacted police departments in different areas, and checked shelters in case he was seeking help. They even hired a plane to search nearby bodies of water for his car, but nothing has turned up. Despite their exhaustive efforts, Eric remains missing. His family continues to plead with the public to come forward with any information, no matter how small, that could help bring him home. If you or someone you know has any information about Eric Wells' disappearance, please contact the Fife Police Department at 253-9226633. His NAMUS case number is MP127026. Clinton Bonnell had just begun an exciting new chapter in his life when he suddenly disappeared without a trace. A dedicated former Green Beret, he had spent 2 decades in the military before retiring in 2024. But rather than struggling to adjust to civilian life, Clinton had a clear vision for his future. Having worked as a medic during his time in the service, he was determined to continue helping others in the medical field. His passion led him to Methodist University in Fayetteville, North Carolina, where he was enrolled in a physician assistant program. Clinton excelled in his studies and quickly became a respected figure among his classmates. His leadership skills were recognized, and he was even elected president of his cohort. He was thriving, making friends, and fully committed to his studies. By January 2025, Clinton was deep into exam season, preparing for both written tests and lab assessments. On the afternoon of January 27th, he reported to his job at the Fit for Life gym, located near the university. After finishing work, he is believed to have gone back to the university to continue studying until around 7 p.m. From there, he drove home to Butler Nursery Road, a rural area about 30 minutes away. The last known contact with Clinton was a simple text message he sent to a friend confirming that he had just arrived home. After that, all communication stopped, and he was never heard from again. Clinton's sudden absence raised immediate concerns. Methodist University had strict policies regarding attendance, especially during exams. Multiple unexcused absences could lead to expulsion, making it incredibly unusual for Clinton to miss classes without notifying anyone. When he failed to show up for 2 consecutive days, the university took action. Concerned for his well-being, they requested a welfare check at his home. When authorities arrived, they found Clinton's car parked outside, but there was no sign of him anywhere. They visited his home 4 times, yet each time, there was no trace of the missing veteran. His family was notified when his wife reached out to Clinton's sister, asking if she had heard from him. As more time passed, the worry only deepened. Nearly a month has gone by, and Clinton remains missing, with very few leads in the case. His family is at a loss, unable to think of why he would choose to disappear. He has a daughter, and those who know him best insist he would never willingly abandon her. His sister firmly believes that whatever happened to Clinton was not by choice. Adding to the mystery, Clinton was highly trained in self-defense. With his extensive military background, he was more than capable of protecting himself if he encountered danger. Yet despite his skills, he vanished, without any apparent struggle or clues left behind. Authorities are still trying to piece together what could have happened that night. Clinton's home is in a wooded area near Rockfish Creek, and there is speculation that if he decided to go for a late-night jog or walk, he may have encountered trouble in the secluded surroundings. But without any evidence, his loved ones fear that something more sinister could be at play. The search for answers continues, and Clinton's family pleads for anyone with information to come forward. If you know anything about his disappearance, please contact Detective Sergeant J. McLeod with the Cumberland County Sheriff's Office at 910-6775-548. Any detail, no matter how small, could help bring Clinton home. Kaysey Yoder, 34, vanished without a trace from her home in Weld County, Colorado, more than a year ago. Despite numerous tips and an ongoing investigation, very little progress has been made in uncovering what truly happened to her. Kaysey was a devoted mother, living with her partner, Evan, and their children in a small community a few miles east of Eaton, Colorado. She was especially dedicated to caring for her eldest son, who had a disability. To better provide for him, she was working toward obtaining a caregiver's license, which would allow her to receive financial assistance for his care. She was just one test away from completing this process when she mysteriously disappeared. In the months before she went missing, Kaysey seemed to be in good spirits. She had even decided to stop taking her bipolar disorder medication, as she felt stable and ready to manage without it. However, on January 13th, 2024, just a day before she vanished, her mood appeared to shift. She sent a disturbing message to a friend, saying she wanted to lie down in the snow inside an irrigation ditch and never get back up. This alarming statement raised concerns, but by the following morning, she appeared to be back to normal. On January 14th, Kaysey spoke with her mother on the phone, something they did almost daily. Their conversation seemed completely ordinary, and her mother noticed nothing unusual. When they hung up, her mother even considered calling her back later that day to continue their chat. However, just a few hours later, Kaysey would leave her home, never to be seen again. At approximately 4 p.m., Kaysey left her house on Appy Road. She told Evan that she was planning to stay with a friend for the night and packed a change of clothes into the backpack she often carried as a purse. Even though she had the keys to 2 of their vehicles, she left on foot, despite the harsh weather that day. Surprisingly, Evan wasn't immediately alarmed. Since Kaysey was close with the friend she claimed to be visiting, her decision to walk there didn't seem odd to him. However, when she failed to return the next day and wasn't answering calls or messages, concerns started to grow. Kaysey's mother reached out to the friend she was supposed to be staying with, only to learn that the friend had never seen her that day, or the day before. This revelation was shocking, and Evan quickly reported Kaysey missing. At first, Investigators believe Kaysey may have been seen at a store in Alt sometime between 5 p.m. and 9 p.m. on the day she disappeared. However, this supposed sighting was never confirmed and was later left out of official reports. A key clue was discovered not far from her home: her backpack. Inside, investigators found a pair of pants and her son's cell phone, but Kaysey's phone was missing. This missing device could be crucial in solving the mystery, as it might contain location data revealing which direction she went or if she got into a vehicle. Unfortunately, because her case isn't classified as a crime, police haven't been able to access her phone's location records. While law enforcement doesn't suspect foul play, Kaysey's family and friends strongly disagree. They can't believe she would willingly abandon her children for this long, especially considering how deeply she cared for them. Her loved ones feel that someone knows what happened, but has yet to come forward. Adding to their distress, scammers have targeted Kaysey's family, pretending to be her and demanding money to come home. This cruel deception has only made the situation even more painful for those who miss her. So far, authorities have received around 50 tips, but none have led to any breakthroughs. If you have any information about Kaysey Yoder's disappearance, please contact the Weld County Sheriff's Office at 970-356-4015. Even the smallest detail could help bring answers and closure to her family. Maria Krauss, a 38-year-old woman originally from Pennsylvania, vanished under mysterious circumstances on February 10th, 2025. She was last seen in North Versailles, Pennsylvania, and has not been heard from since. Her sudden disappearance has left her loved ones deeply worried, especially her boyfriend, who told investigators that he believes she may be in danger. The last confirmed sighting of Maria was around 8:45 a.m. that morning. However, later that afternoon, around 2:30 p.m., a witness reported seeing a woman matching her description walking along McKeesport Boulevard. Authorities have not been able to confirm whether this person was Maria. Shortly after she went missing, a search was launched and her car was discovered abandoned on the east side of McKeesport Boulevard. Strangely, there was no sign of Maria nearby, and investigators found no immediate clues to explain what might have happened. Her disappearance only grew more concerning when her family pointed out that if she'd been experiencing car trouble, whether she ran out of gas or had a breakdown, she would have called them for help instead of simply walking away. The location where her car was found raised even more questions. The area is near several metalworking plants, railroad tracks, and a river. If Maria had left on foot, she would have had a difficult time finding assistance. Some people think she might have ended up in the water, but there's no proof to support this idea. One of the first things police attempted to do was track her phone. However, when her family tried calling her, they discovered that her phone had been turned off, which only heightened their fears for her safety. Despite further searches in the days following her disappearance, no trace of Maria was found. Some residents reported seeing emergency rescue trucks towing boats and several police officers near the Westinghouse Bridge, leading to speculation that authorities were searching the nearby river. However, officials have not confirmed whether this was related to Maria's case. Weeks passed, and Maria's family continued to appeal to the public for help. They took part in search efforts, hoping for any lead that could bring them closer to finding her. But despite their efforts, no new information has surfaced. Her case remains open, and the Allegheny Police Department's General Investigations Unit is leading the search for answers. Authorities urge anyone with information to contact them at 412-473-1251. For now, Maria Krauss remains missing, and her loved ones are left desperate for answers. The disappearance of 77-year-old Elizabeth O'Prey in the rugged wilderness of Australia's Blue Mountains remains one of the region's most perplexing and heartbreaking mysteries. Known for her independent spirit and gentle demeanor, Elizabeth, often called Betty by those who knew her, was reported missing on a Monday night after concerned family members realized she hadn't returned home. Elizabeth lived in Medlow, Bath, a small village perched near the highest point of the Blue Mountains, west of Sydney. What began as a routine search effort quickly evolved into a large-scale rescue operation, as authorities, volunteers, and local residents came together in the hopes of bringing her home safely. Days into the search, there was a glimmer of hope. A resident in the Megalong Valley reported hearing cries for help around 6:45 p.m. on Friday. When police began searching the nearby 6-foot track, a well-known hiking trail, they too heard desperate calls echoing through the valley. This moment renewed energy and urgency in the search, shifting the focus to the area around Peckman's Plateau and the Fibula Lookout of Katoomba. Inspector Sonia Tarber, who led the search operation, described the landscape as treacherous. Dense bushland and steep cliffs made navigation extremely difficult. She explained that in such environments, voices could travel long distances, complicating efforts to pinpoint the exact source of the cries. Despite the deployment of more than 90 volunteers, police personnel, aerial searches using the Polar helicopter, and ground support from trail bikes, locating Elizabeth proved nearly impossible in the unforgiving terrain. Adding to the concern was Elizabeth's medical condition. She was known to take stroke medication, which in some individuals can cause confusion. Authorities feared she might be disoriented, unable to retrace her steps, or provide accurate information about her whereabouts. On Tuesday evening, approximately 24 hours after she was first reported missing, rescuers managed to contact Elizabeth via her mobile phone. She was reportedly calm, said she was all right, but admitted she was lost and unable to describe her location. That brief conversation would become the last confirmed contact anyone had with her. The search had to be temporarily suspended on Friday evening due to deteriorating weather conditions, but resumed the following day. The local community, deeply moved by the situation, rallied in support of the rescue efforts. Sylvia Swords, a community member, told news outlets that while the situation was heartbreaking, everyone understood the immense difficulty posed by the terrain. At the peak of the operation, hundreds of volunteers gave their time and energy, determined to bring Elizabeth back to her family. Despite their dedication, Elizabeth O'Prey was never found. An inquest held in February in Katoomba reviewed the circumstances of her disappearance. The court heard how police had spoken with Elizabeth by phone, but she was unable to provide details of her location. She was last believed to be wearing an olive-colored jacket, jeans, and black shoes. Described as thin, with short grey hair, and of Caucasian appearance, Elizabeth was a familiar and well-loved figure in her neighborhood. Her case left a deep impact on the community. Inspector Tabor publicly acknowledged the overwhelming support of volunteers and emphasized the selflessness shown during the search. The determination and compassion demonstrated in those crucial days following Elizabeth's disappearance are still remembered by those who took part, even though the outcome was not what they had hoped for. Today, the story of Elizabeth O'Prey remains an unresolved chapter in the history of the Blue Mountains. With no conclusive evidence to explain what happened, her fate remains a mystery. Her family continues to seek answers, and the memory of a resilient woman lost in the wilderness still echoes among the trees, where voices once called out, hoping she might be found.